Come, let us explore. When mindfulness feels draining, let me just verify the microphone's working. Splendid. An individual wrote on Reddit asking about feeling drained from practicing mindfulness. This individual explained that all the teachers she'd listened to and all the authors that she read kept telling her that mindfulness was about paying attention to everything inside and outside. But too many times paying attention is explained as concentration or focus. So what is the price of concentration or focus? Let me jump ahead, find a useful visual aid. When those who teach us are rigid and superstitious and elitist, they can instruct us to practice focus, relying upon discrete neural pathways such as the medial prefrontal cortex. The problem with this is that once we exhaust our prefrontal cortex, and that's easy to do, we trigger our amygdala, which functions as the seat of both anxiety and aggression. And anybody who's ever lost their temper will know that once they've lost their temper, they are exhausted. Anybody who's been completely panicked, eventually their panic will turn to exhaustion. These things are, when it comes in terms of survival mechanisms, they are useful. They can help you flee a predator, or they can help you fight a bear. But when you are done, you are spent and you are exhausted. And by you, I mean all of us. And so, yes, if we try to actively concentrate on every sight, on every sound, on every sensation, on every flavor, on every scent, on every emotion, on every intention, on every thought, on every memory, on every fantasy, if we actively concentrate on the external, the internal, the physical, the mental, the interesting, the boring, the glorious, and the grotesque, it will most certainly drain us. But the $64,000 question is concentration the only game in town? Is active, rigid, controlling focus our only choice? When we look at the great luminaries, such as the sage, known as Lao Tzu, such as the enlightened one, known as Gautama, such as the Messiah, known as the Christ, they taught it is superior to be flexible than rigid, loving than fearful, rational than superstitious, laid back than controlling, egalitarian than elitist, lucid than cryptic. It's better to be cooperative than competitive, better to be kind than cruel. So how do we maintain an awareness from a place of being flexible and laid back? We are wired in such a way that every time we inhale, we gain automatic access to the sympathetic nervous system ensconced within the middle third of our spinal cord. This bad boy has evolved to help us to notice in a very special way. Not in an active way, not in a rigid way, but in a manner that is vulnerable, passive, visceral, random, and fleeting. This does not have to be forced. This mechanism is already there. If it wasn't there, we'd be dead. Literally, this is how integral this is to our survival. We are already wired for these things. We just have to step out of our own way, and that is a remarkably vague and worthless thing to say. So how do we do that? How do we step out of our own way? And here's the idiot's guide, or if you're a fan of Ren and Stimpy, the idiot's guide to mindfulness. Every time we silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation, we violently interrupt the habit of our cerebral cortex to compete against our sympathetic nervous system. And in the absence of that pattern, we open up an ancient pathway for these two to cooperate synergistically. This is remarkably easy, but effective. Now, the price of mindfulness is vulnerability. And we can feel sensations and emotions and potentialities that are deeply, deeply disturbing. How do we deal with those? Every time we exhale, let's try that, whether we know it or not, we are wired to access the parasympathetic nervous system divided between the lower third and approximately the upper third of that same spinal cord. This parasympathetic nervous system is wired for both physical relaxation as well as mental release. Mental release does not mean that our perceptions go away. It means they control our choices and our utterances and our deeds less and less and less. They're still there, but they are not the boss of us. Just like that song, I think it's by They May Be Giants. You're not the boss of me now, and you're not that big. So here's the litmus test. Let me just jump back for a second. I skipped something. Just as we're already wired to notice, we are already wired to release. Each time we silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during our exhalation. We interrupt the pattern of our cerebral cortex competing against our parasympathetic nervous system. And instead of these two competing, they begin to cooperate, if even for a second or two. Which is why consistency is so important. Practicing this mindfulness and meditation every 12 hours or so. Conditioning our brain, the components of our brain, to function in greater harmony. So then, what is the litmus test? It's exhaustion. Now, anything you do for an hour is going to be tiring. Making love for an hour is going to be tiring. Sitting in the proper posture is going to be tiring. Working out is going to be tiring. Anything you do for driving a car in traffic for an hour is going to be tiring. Anything you do, listening to your favorite song over and over and over again for 60 minutes straight is going to be tiring. So yes, if we sit in mindfulness and meditation, we will experience a modicum of fatigue, especially if we do it for 60 minutes. But what if we, instead of practicing mindfulness and meditation, we practiced concentration and analysis? How much more drained would we be? How much more exhausted would we be? Considerably. No one makes it to the end of life without a scar or two. No one makes it to the end of the day without fatigue. But to paraphrase a line from Casino Royale, there is fatigue and then there is exhaustion. The difference may seem subtle at first, but I assure you, it is profound. That concludes our opening lesson. And now what I would like very much to do is shift gears. It is General Leo Organa's Saturday evening. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I've spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that I could become the nerdy, neurodivergent, I should say, so I can become your nerdy, neurodivergent guide to nirvana. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. We turn our attention now to the latest iteration of Easy Mantra Meditation. The contemporary practice of Tantric Buddhism, also known as Dzogchen, can be thought of in terms of tikle or energy work, togal or simile work, and treksho mindfulness and meditation. Let's begin with energy work. By resting the tip of our left index finger upon its thumb and resting our left hand upon its thigh, we gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to automatically coalesce at the crown of our head. The next 5 pages contain chants that help us to exercise the neural pathways responsible for empathy. We begin idealistically together. In our compassion may we long to free all beings, choices, utterances, and deeds from the tyranny of the survival impulses of hating, craving, and clinging, metaphorically known as the 3 mental poisons. We now turn to a more practical tack. In our pragmatism, may our liberation of all others be fueled by our reliance upon the Buddhas, exampled instructions and students described by the metaphor of the 3 wish-fulfilling jewels. Let us now chant an 8-syllable synopsis of these 4 pages, and by chant I mean recite. So let us recite it while simultaneously performing geriatric squat thrusts. The geriatric squat thrusts, although an excellent source of dopamine, are completely optional. May we free all through thee. Three jewels. May we free all through thee. Three jewels. May we free all through thee. Three jewels. Let's chant Tokal's wise similes to better master the impermanence and interdependence comprising the first fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. Please chant with me. Rather than indulge or controlling tendencies with the follies of active visualization, emotion, magic, and belief, we could just recite these wise words in harmony with our breathing and allow our subconscious to do the heavy lifting. Let us therefore sidestep the rigidity that confuses metaphors or statements literal, and relax into the flexibility that savors the chance explaining metaphors or similes. All circumstances or lots could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this body or form. Let us now silently and mentally recite the 6-syllable synopsis. All bodies or forms could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this communication or speech. All interpersonal communication or speech could be as impermanent and interdependent as if it could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this mind. All minds could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into a vast empty void. like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although tantalizing to the eye, could be not graspable to the hand. Welcome to the first of 5 sets of mindful crease counting meditation. This is a good opportunity to review the 3 pillars of Bengali crease counting. Number 1. Over the span of 12 inhalations, we could advance our right thumb in the following manner, beginning with our little finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Part 2. We could multiply this by 4 sets for a total of 48 inhalations. We could keep track of these 4 sets on our left hand. 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of 12 inhalations each. We come now to part 3. By resting the great knuckle at the base of our right little finger upon the tip of our left little finger and placing our hands palms up in our lap, we gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to coalesce automatically in the bladder region of our lower abdomen. Let's chant an explanation of the Benzaguru mantra. I invoke each some action on meditation in whom view that the Benzaguru Guru teaches. Pay my enlightenment and city abilities, whom may be mastered by all. So here's the essence of mantra meditation. During our inhalation, we can silently and mentally recite the essential instructions for mindfulness and meditation. During our exhalation, we can do 2 things simultaneously. We can physically relax as best we can while striving to chant this 12-syllable mantra 5 times per breath for a total of 4 breaths. Here's a quick pro tip to count to 5 on one finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And of course we count 1 breath per finger. 1 breath, 2 breath, 3 breath, 4 breath. For a total of 20 repetitions. Now, clearly, if this is your first time hanging out with me or hanging out with me, then by all means, please give yourself permission to have a learning curve. Om Mahum Benzaguru Mima Siri Hung Om Mahum Benzaguru Mima Siri Hung Om Om Mahum Benzaguru Mima Siri Hung Om Mahum Benzaguru Mima Siri Hung Om Mahum Benzaguru Mima Siri Hung. Om Mahum Benzaguru Mima Siri Hung 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 Om Mahum Benzaguru Mima Siri Hung. Om Mahum Benzaguru Mima Siri Hung 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 Om Mahung Menzuguru Me Mazuri Hung. 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 We now turn our attention to Trek Cho, or mindfulness and meditation. Each time we silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this. During our inhalation, we are wired to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice mind's antics. Each time we silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during our exhalation, we are similarly wired to physically relax and mentally release all that we noticed during our previous inhalation. Together, let us practice right now. Good evening and welcome to the second of 5 sets of a mindful crease counting meditation. When we rest the great knuckle at the base of our right ring finger upon the tip of our left ring finger and place our hands palms up in our lap, we gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to automatically coalesce in the navel region of our mid-abdomen. It happens automatically. It's pretty cool. During our inhalation, we can silently and mentally recite the essential instructions for mindfulness and meditation. During our exhalation, we can physically relax as best we can, while striving to chant this 12-syllable mantra 5 times per breath. Om Mahum Minzu Guru Mima Ziri Hung Om Mahum Minzu Guru Mima Ziri Hung Om Mahum Minzu Guru Mima Ziri Hung Om Mahum Minzu Guru Mima Ziri Hung. 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 We switch gears to silent meditation. Each time we silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation, we are wired to notice mind's antics. Each time we silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during our exhalation, we are wired to physically relax and mentally release whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation. Good evening and welcome to the third of 5 sets of mindful crease counting meditation. By resting the great knuckle at the base of our right middle finger upon the tip of its left middle finger, and resting our hands palms up in our lap, we gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to automatically coalesce in the heart region of our chest. Welcome to mantra meditation. During each inhalation, we can silently and mentally recite the concise instructions for mindfulness and meditation. During our exhalation, we can perform 2 actions simultaneously. We can physically relax as best we can while striving to chant this 12-syllable mantra 5 times per breath for a total of 4 breaths. If this is your first time hanging out with me or hanging out with me, please give yourself permission to have a learning curve. Om Mahum Minzu Guru Mima Siri Hung 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 Om Mahum Minzu Guru Mima Siri Hung. Om Mahum Minzu Guru Mima Siri Hung 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 Om Mahum Minzu Guru Mima Siri Hung. Om Mahum Minzu Guru Mima Siri Hung 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 Om Mahum Minzu Guru Mima Siri Hung. Om Mahum Minzu Guru Mima Siri Hung 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 Om Mahum Minzu Guru Mima Siri Hung. We now transition to silent meditation. If you know the lyrics, sing along. Each time we silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation, we are wired to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice mind's antics. Each time we silently and mentally recite the 1-syllable verb ease during our exhalation, we are similarly wired to physically relax and mentally release that which we noticed during our previous inhalation. Now let us practice together. We come now to the tricky one, the fourth of 5 sets of mindful crease counting meditation. This time we will rest all 4 knuckles upon the tips of their corresponding fingers, again palms up in our lap. Doing so gently invites our real or imagined subtle energies to automatically coalesce at our throat in the region that we kind of tightens up just before we cry, like during a sad movie. Now for a bit of the old mantra meditation. Om Maham Guru Me Masiri Hung 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 Om Maham Guru Me Masiri Hung. Welcome aboard. Let's play with a bit of the old trick show or silent meditation. Each time we silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation, we are wired to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice mind's antics of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, and imagination. Similarly, each time we silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during our exhalation, we are wired to physically relax and mentally release whatever it is that we noticed during our previous inhalation. Clear as mud? Splendid. Together, let us practice right now. We come to the fifth of 5 sets of mindful crease counting meditation, where we rest the great knuckle at the base of our right index finger upon the tip of its left index finger. Palms up in our lap. Doing so gently invites our real or imagined subtle energies to automatically coalesce at the crown region of our head. Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Masiri Hung 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 Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Masiri Hung. Let's meditate. let's chant Tokal's kind similes to better master the loving kindness integral to or integral, depending on how you want to say it, to the second through fifth folds of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. Together. Rather than indulge or controlling tendencies with all these affective visualization, emotion, magic, and belief, we could just recite these kind words in harmony with our breathing and allow our subconscious to do the heavy lifting. Let us therefore sidestep the rigidity that confuses metaphors or statements literal, and relax into the flexibility that safest a chance explaining metaphors or similes. May each mind of each being known be as joyfully enlightened as the mind of a real or imagined Buddha symbolized by Atikle one syllable pseudo bija mantra. So now we silently and mentally recite the 6-syllable synopsis of that which we just chanted. Together. May all relationships, communication, or speech of all beings know me as peacefully loving as a real or imagined Buddha's speech, symbolized by a multi-syllabic mantra. Oh, let's try this again. May all bodies or forms of all beings know enjoy the beautiful health represented by Buddha's statuary, depicting the blissful body of a real or imagined yidam, an archetype of enlightenment such as Kuntu Zangpo Yam Yam. Let us lovingly wish that all beings be liberated from the tyranny of others. Sexism, racism, homophobia, transphobia, Islamophobia, classism, exploitation, fascism, jingoism, genocide, speciesism, and ecocide. May each circumstance or lot of each being now have the safety and good fortune or boon, as a Buddha's real or imagined paradise, pure land or vati depicted in Buddhist paintings. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 12 3/4 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's morning meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.